It is the first Sunday of Advent. And I know that anytime you do Advent, there's a chance that somebody in the room is like, I don't really know what we're doing, right? Because if you've come from a tradition where they don't celebrate Advent, right? Most non-denominational churches don't celebrate Advent. The Southern Baptist Church doesn't really recognize Advent. Really, it's a tradition that came out originally from the Roman Catholic Church. It made its way down through kind of the mainline Protestant churches, of which Methodist is one, right? Lutherans, Methodists, Pentecostal, and on down. And so it's not something everyone knows. So a brief kind of what is Advent? The word Advent simply means to prepare, or the preparation, or the preparing. And what we're preparing for specifically is the birth of the Son of God, the birth of the Messiah, right? The coming of Christ, who we now identify in our belief system as Jesus Christ because of his life and the prophecies he fulfilled and his death and his miraculous resurrection that we have on multiple eyewitness accounts and all of these things that become the evidence and the information that is presented to us, but that ultimately we make a faith decision about in our soul because we weren't there, we didn't see it. We have to kind of take it and examine the evidence and make a decision about that. For those who have decided Christ is the Messiah, then what we're doing is remembering, like we're preparing like, well, it already happened, right? Didn't it already happen? Well, yes. You're preparing to receive him again and to receive him again and to receive him again, right? Like this is a remembering of something that has already happened, that you don't have to remember it well for it to have happened. It happened. It doesn't matter how well we remember it for it to have happened. It happened. But what we also know is that what we remember sticks. My mentor says it this way: you are what you celebrate, right? So we celebrate things because we want to be those things. So if we are excited about being alive and having another year, we celebrate our birthday, right? You are what you celebrate. So we celebrate the time in which we remember that there was a time in which people were longing for, deeply looking for the Messiah. In fact, in the Old Testament, where the Old Testament ends, where we recognize the end of like the Old Testament writings before the beginning of the New Testament, where the story of Christ coming into the world begins, right? In the book of Matthew, any of the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. There is a window between when the last prophet hears from God and speaks on God's behalf to his people Israel, and when we hear the prophetic announcement that we're going to read about today, the first one that isn't about Jesus but about the one who will prepare the way for Jesus, we think about 500 years. So imagine God going dark or going silent in your life for 500 years. 500 years of expectation, 500 years of longing, 500 years of wondering what happened, 500 years of wondering what did we do? Where did he go? I believe these stories my great-grandparents and my grandparents and my parents have told me, but I've not seen any evidence in my own time of the type they report, right? Like, where's the Moses who can part the Red Sea? And where's the, right? And where's the prophet who can speak the words of God to us? All we have left are these scrolls. And they're in a time of prophetic silence. And so Advent is about sitting in that anticipation. And what that anticipation is not hopeful. Hope left, I mean, if we're waiting for 500 years, hope left a long time ago. Is that a fair assessment? So I think when we come to Christmas and we approach Advent and we talk about preparing our hearts for the coming Christ, it's easy to jump ahead. Well, we know he was born, we know he lived, we know he died for us, let's just get to Easter. But Advent is about trying to locate yourself in the deep disappointment and despair and depression and anxiety and unmet longings and grief and doubt that would have pervaded an entire community of people and their belief system. It is wholly any other feeling in contrast to the cheer and ribbons and sparkle of Christmas. Right? The sanctuary is decorated beautifully. Anybody notice? A tree angel came and just made it appear. Boom, right? There's lights and it's pretty. And this is kind of Christmas. Let's just go to that. Hallmark, I mean, it's been on my house for a minute already. Okay? The Hallmark movie's been cranked up. And I just find a different room to be in. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's not Christmas. A better understanding of what Christmas is the sitting in this deep moment of will we ever, and I mean ever, hear from the Lord of hosts again. And if I'm honest with you, there are more moments in my life and longer moments in my life of will I ever hear from the Lord of hosts again than there are the moments that are like, yes, there he is. Those moments seem brief and fleeting and move on. And we hold on to them. I can understand why the Old Testament prophets built altars to remember those moments. Because they come and they go. And what you're left with is longer periods between. Right? The mountain rises up and makes a peak, but that valley is long and drawn out between there and the next mountain peak. I feel like life is lived down in that valley, if I'm honest. And the valley's not all bad. It's not like it's terrible, but it's not the mountain. And Christmas, for Christians, is one of our mountaintops, right? Jesus was born, woo! Mountain. And then we come back down off the mountain and we got to live and we got to grind it out till Easter, like, oh, mountain. And then that trough between Easter and the next time we get to celebrate the birth feels even longer. And that seems to represent my life. I'm down in the valley way more than I'm up on the mountain. And so this study we're going to do, this sermon series, this Advent practice we're going to engage in is from this book called Brought to the Light. And the tagline is very interesting. For all who need it. For all who need it. I guess my question to you this morning, church, is this. Who needs Advent? Everybody. For all who need it? Well, who is that? All. Because Isaiah says it this way. Isaiah chapter 9 says it this way. For those who are sitting in darkness, a great light has come. We're all sitting in darkness. We were all sitting in our sin. We all needed a great light to shine into our lives. We all need Advent. And Advent reminds us that we were once in darkness until we were brought into the light. And it reminds us that there are millions, if not billions, right now in darkness who need this light to dawn, to shine, to be brought to them. There was a couple who was in this same situation. In the very beginning of the Gospel of Luke, Luke decides to take up this story as a way of introducing his gospel. So think about this. Every gospel writer had to figure out, I am writing about the light I learned. I learned as a Jewish boy from the book of Isaiah that there would be a great light that would come shine in darkness. I found that light. His name was Jesus. And now I need to write that story down so that the light can be passed on to generations. And how do I introduce this light? How do I introduced the idea that we were waiting for this light to come. And this is how Luke decides to open his gospel. In the time of Herod, king of Judea, there was a priest named Zechariah who belonged to the priestly division of Abijah. His wife Elizabeth was also a descendant of Aaron. Both of them were righteous in the sight of God, observing all the Lord's commands and decrees blamelessly. But they were childless because Elizabeth was not able to conceive, and they were both very old. Now I want to pause here. I want to deal with the depth of meaninglessness in this text. First of all, my name is Zechariah, and my job is to be a priest. In the temple, we have not truly experienced the Lord's presence in 500 years or heard from a prophet. What am I even doing? All I've got are the rituals. All I've got is the calendar that tells me at this time we do this, at this time we do this, and we're just trying to remember it well enough that maybe God will show back up and speak and do something or send the Messiah or whatever. But talk about having a job nobody could have possibly really enjoyed. Where's the meaning? Where's the power? You're just a token of a religion that maybe is on the brink of just extinction. And for my trouble up there somewhere, if you're there and just leaving us alone for this long, I'm married and I do everything right. I'm blameless in the sight of the Lord. And I can't even have kids. My wife is blameless in the sight of the Lord, and we can't even get the blessing of a child. Never mind that maybe it's all fairy tales and magic dust. And we don't know for sure because we haven't heard from the Lord in a minute. I think we read past this text too quickly. This has got to be a man sitting in the depth of grief, of what's it all about? What does it even mean anyway? Once, when Zechariah's division was on duty and he was serving as priest before God, he was chosen by lot, drawing lots, according to the custom of the priesthood, to go into the temple of the Lord and burn incense. Now watch. The reason they're drawing by lot is this is a once-in-a-lifetime honor for a priest. The altar of incense is the last layer of the interior holy temple before going into what's called the Holy of Holies, which only the high priest can go into. Now, the high priest goes in there to offer sacrifices for sins for the whole of God's people. And because it's the Holy of Holies, and because people can't be in the presence of God wrongly without dying, they would tie a rope around you. So that as you went past the veil, the curtain, right, of which Jesus tore when he died, remember that? The veil was torn. When they go past the veil into the Holy of Holies, if they're somehow living a sinful life and can't be in the holy presence of God and they die, that's so they can pull them out without going in and risking their own death. So the assignment to go to the altar of incense is to step to the doorstep, to the very doorpost, if you will, of death if you're not blameless. This is not a safe place to be. This is a dangerous place to be. But it is also a place of great honor. Because this only happens maybe once in your priestly lifetime that you get to do this practice. And he draws the lot. He draws. Now imagine the conflicting message inside of his soul. I can't get the blessing of children, but you'll let me light the candle? Would you be honored or would you be upset? would you be making a deal with God? I'll trade you. Give this to somebody else and give me kids. This moment has a different kind of power behind it than I think sometimes we read in the text. And when the time for the burning of incense came, all the assembled worshipers were praying outside. Now watch this. Then an angel of the Lord appeared to him. Church, this is the first time in 500 years. It's not going to happen once, it's going to happen twice in pretty short order. The second time we're going to see an angel appear is to who? Mary. This gets pretty cool. Watch this. Then an angel of the Lord appeared to him, standing at the right side of the altar of incense. If God was going to show up, where should God have showed up to make an appearance? Outside the Holy of Holies, where he's standing, or where? Inside. This is all kinds of backwards. And means some things. Is God confined to the Holy of Holies? Absolutely not. When Zechariah saw him, he was startled and gripped with fear. But the angel said to him, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah." How do you know my name? "Your prayer has been heard. Your wife, Elizabeth, will bear you a son, and you are to call him John." The first thing, church, that God breaks the silence for is to bring Zechariah's birth announcement. It's personal. He doesn't show up to Zechariah and say, "Good news, I'm real. Go tell everybody." He comes and says, "I've got good news for you. You serve a God who has good news for you." God broke the 500-year prophetic silence by bringing a word to one man about his life and what it mattered to him. It wasn't generic. It wasn't, "Hey, here's a prophetic word for the people, go tell them." It was like, "Good news, you're going to be a dad. And you are to call him John. He will be," now watch this, "he will be a joy and a delight to you, and many will rejoice because of his birth, for he will be great in the sight of the Lord. He is never to take wine or other fermented drink, and he will be filled with the Holy Spirit even before he is born. He will bring back many of the people of Israel to the Lord their God, and he will go on before the Lord in the spirit and power of Elijah, to turn the hearts of the parents to their children and the disobedient to the wisdom of the righteous, to make a people prepared for the Lord." Stop. This is all prophetic language. This is the angel of the Lord fulfilling in real time to Zechariah that his son that is to be born will be the foretold messenger who brings the Messiah into the world. He's not just saying now that you're going to be a dad. He's saying, and great news, Dad, he's not going to be just some knucklehead. He's going to be the one who makes ready the way of the Messiah, which means Messiah's on the way. As a dad, that would be an awesome announcement. You're going to have a kid, and don't worry, not only are you going to have a kid, he's going to be one of the greatest kids the world's ever known. Isn't that great news, Zechariah? Zechariah asks, "How can I be sure of this?" "I am an old man, and my wife is well along in years." I just want you to catch this scene. Zechariah is a part of a people waiting on God to show up. An angel of the Lord appears and gives him news that he's not just going to be a dad, but that he's going to be the dad of a prophetically foretold forerunner of the Messiah that he would know in his study. He's read these texts. He knows these words. The line that he will turn the hearts of the sons back to the fathers is famous. That would have been like a lightning rod going off, like, it's time? That prophecy is going to come true through my son? And he doesn't say, wow, thanks for showing up. You're obviously an angel. We're standing in the holy place of the temple. You met me outside the Holy of Holies so I didn't have to die. He doesn't have any line of gratitude or understanding. He says, wait a minute. Am I being punked right now? The angel said to him, I'm not just any angel, I'm Gabriel. I like to try to find the context in the words. I don't think this was like a, relax, it's me, Gabriel. I think there was a little more contentiousness here, like, I'm Gabriel. What do you mean, am I sure? Here's how we know that's what he meant. I stand in the presence of God all day, and I have been sent to speak to you and tell you this good news. And now you will be silent and not able to speak until the day this happens, because you did not believe my words, which will come true at their appointed time. I have wondered about this. Did Gabriel get mad and like do something God didn't say to do? Right? Like, he's like, look, go down and tell him and everything's gonna be good. And Zechariah has this like little doubt moment, and Gabriel's like, that's it. You don't talk until the baby gets here. When he got back to heaven, was God like, that wasn't in the plan? You didn't have to, I mean, it's fine, but you didn't have to do that. Well, he made me mad, Lord. I mean, he didn't. It's me. I'm Gabriel. He should have known better. Meanwhile, the people were waiting for Zechariah and wondering why he stayed so long in the temple. What is the assumption here? He's dead. Right. Well, he wasn't blameless as we thought he was. When he came out, he could not speak to them. They realized he had seen a vision in the temple, for he kept making signs to them, but remained able to speak. This tickled me. Can you think about, like, he's trying to make the signs of, I saw an angel. Like, you know, like, what is that? How did he even communicate that? But they're like, something happened because he can't talk. They realized he had seen a vision in the temple because he kept making these signs and he was unable to speak. When his time of service was completed, he returned home. After this, his wife became pregnant and for 5 months remained in seclusion. The Lord has done this for me, she said. In these days, he has shown his favor and taken away my disgrace among the people. The first thing I want us to see as we kind of sit in Advent is this. Godliness and faithfulness do not protect us from suffering or disappointment, nor do they guarantee we will have a blessed life with everything we hope for and want. Zechariah and his wife are blameless before the Lord, and they are very old, and they have not had a kid, which is their heart's desire. He's done a good job being a priest. He's been a good husband. She's been a good wife. They've done all the right things. And the thing that they are longing for, their unmet longing, is for a child. And as the days get long, they must be thinking what all of God's people were thinking. Will we ever hear from God? I guess we're just not going to have a kid. It's not meant to be. We're not going to get this longing met. And I need you to see that their godliness wasn't directly related to their blessing. They were perfect and they did not have this unmet longing. What does that teach us? It teaches us that unmet longings, the things we hope for, can become the places of encounter. In their unmet longing, they have two choices. Turn to God, turn away. What do we know they've done? Because they're blameless, they've turned to God. They've just kept doing what they know they're supposed to do. Even as they don't have direct evidence that it's going to work or that it's going to be good or that they're ever going to get what they want, They just stay faithful. They turn to the Lord. And in that place, they finally have this encounter, right? They finally have the breakthrough they've been hoping for, waiting for, praying for. In the place of unmet hope, we encounter the one who is hope himself. I know so many people that this is their journey in their faith, right? And they ask me, Pastor, why does God hate me? Or why is God quiet? Or why did God let this happen? Or why did I have to suffer? Why did my kids have to suffer? Why did my grandma have to suffer? Why is suffering even a thing? Why can't I get that job I'm hoping for? Why can't I get that family I'm hoping for? Why can't I, right? I've been good. I've done the right things. In that unmet longing place, when we turn to God, what we find is that our focus shifts, right? We focus, it shifts our focus from the gift we're trying to get, the blessing, the gift, and it focuses on the giver. And it's okay that the focus on the giver can be upset. I have prayed with many people in hospitals battling cancer, angry prayers. Very angry prayers. What is this about? Why are you not here? Why can't we get through this? What are you doing? I don't understand. But when I pray an angry prayer to a God I cannot see and have not met in person, what am I really doing? If I was despondent, would I pray at all? No. I'm praying an angry prayer because I know that there's a God who is listening, who wants to hear all of my emotions, who wants to have a relationship with me in reality, not in fake make-believe happy land. Right? And that what's happening there is I'm telling him I expect him to show up in this moment somehow. Not to do what I want, maybe that's not going to be it, but to show up. Whether it's through peace that passes all understanding, or whether it's through bringing an encouragement. Maybe it is through physical healing. Maybe it's through giving me an understanding about what spiritual healing is. Whatever it is, I need you to show up. I'm waiting here, desperate for you. And church, if I'm honest, the waiting transforms us. One of the times I grew the most as a follower of God was when Natalie and I were trying to get pregnant with Reese. It wasn't going great. It was taking a while, and it was taking just long enough that all that doubt started to creep in. Is it me? Then you think things you can't say out loud. Is it you? Right? You go to the doctor, you get some tests, you're told everything's okay, you keep trying, still not happening. I was at a chrysalis event with students. I'm the leader. I'm the spiritual director of this retreat for students. And we're at a worship time, and we're calling for students to come and pour their hearts out to God at the altar and at the prayer rail, and students are coming down and all of that, and God's like, get on your knees. I was like, no, I'm serving you right now, Lord. Couldn't possibly. Get on your knees. And what you did is if you wanted to be prayed for, you just held your hands up. So I get on the kneeler, and I'm just like closed up, like, don't anybody come over here, don't anybody come over here, don't anybody come over here. And God's like, open your hands, like, oh, God, okay. Open my hands up. And students came and said, what do you need? And I said, I'm sad. I don't know if I'm ever going to be a father. And students prayed over me. Not that we'd get pregnant, but that I would be okay, that God would make us all right, that he would be with us, that like some of the most mature prayers. You're like, how are you that mature? Because I saw you last week. You didn't. And did we get pregnant right away? No. It's not like that moment fixed it all. But something came and rested in me that told me God is with us. Kids, no kids, somewhere in here, God is with us. It's going to work out. And the Lord's going to make it known at some point what that working out is. Now, for us, it happened to be that we did get pregnant. For some, it's not, right? For some, it ends up in maybe adoption or foster or so many ways. Becoming a great mentor in a church or in a, right? There's so many ways God can work in that. What I'm telling you is, I had to learn how to sit in my unmet longing and just focus on the giver and not the gift. I was like, give me a kid, give me a kid, give me a kid, right? I had to shift my posture to, I trust you. I don't know what, your gift is better. Somehow, whatever it is you have for me, I want, but you know. And I've got to learn how to wait on that. That's what Advent's about a little bit. It's about learning how to sit with God in the unmet longings and to depend on the giver and not to focus on the gift. And church, that waiting period, as short as it was, it's not nearly as long as many go through. I think it ended up being like 7 months. Changed me. Just that little bitty time of having to learn that lesson transformed me. God's fulfillment of our longings and answers to our prayers often looks different than we imagine. In this text, Zechariah and Elizabeth have prayed for a son. They receive news that they're going to get one. And this fulfilled hope carries a cost and a challenge they did not foresee. That's how it is with us sometimes. When expecting parents learn they are pregnant, they immediately begin dreaming and thinking what their child will be like. John probably did not grow up to be what his parents were dreaming about. This is the dude who ate locusts and honey and wore weird clothes in the desert. I'm sure they weren't like, yes, a weird prophet. Right? I mean, when the angel told us he'd make the way of the Lord, we didn't think they meant this, you know? We saw like a really prestigious job in the temple, not weird prophet in the desert. And the baby they hoped for would eventually be beheaded for daring to bring a message of hope. But what the angel said was true, that because of John's message, many hearts returned to the Father. And he did prepare the way for the Messiah. And for this was given the great gift and honor of getting to baptize Jesus. But that's probably not what the parents thought it would look like. God's answers to our hopes are woven into his grand narrative of redemption, not just our personal dreams or ambitions. This is where Advent begins. I said some words today: disappointment, grief, unmet longings, despair, doubt, loneliness, depression, anxiety, right? I just want you to see those like a big heavy cloud. Maybe dark and foreboding like a coming storm. And right there in the middle of that cloud is the word hope. This is the word that our Christian faith hangs on. Christianity is about hope. And that hope is the light. And that light shines in great darkness. But if you haven't experienced that darkness, or if you haven't been able to recognize that you have sat in that darkness, or if you don't recognize that you're in it today, then you aren't looking for the light. Advent is about posturing ourselves to understand that the world is full of these things, maybe in our own life right now, but hope is about to shine. Hope is already shining. Hope already shone. I think I'm getting my tenses right here. And that you can come into that light. With all of its promise and warmth, you can come into that light. But to understand that is to not pretend that the darkness isn't there. It's not to pretend by putting up the ribbons and the lights, right? And to say, everything's fine, it's fine. Everything may not be fine. But great news, hope is here. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for an opportunity to sit in this Advent. To just slow down. Man, we run so fast from Thanksgiving to Christmas. It's almost like this foregone conclusion of just snap your fingers and here we are, boom. But God, Advent is meant to slow us down and to sit in the anticipation of a great light that is going to come into this world. But to understand that light, we have to acknowledge that darkness is real. And that sometimes we are sitting in darkness. Deep desires of our heart, unmet. Allow us, like Zechariah, to pour our hearts out to you and tell you what those desires are. And then allow us, when you show up and speak light into those things, to recognize you. But Lord, I guess if Zechariah had a hard time recognizing Gabriel standing in his very presence, it'll be okay if it takes us a minute to understand you speaking into our hearts too. So just let us know that that slow process is okay. We don't have to be okay right now. But we do need to look up and see that hope is coming. I pray that that could be true for whoever needed that message today within the sound of my voice, God. That hope would begin to rest on their soul and outshine the darkness. We pray these things in the name of the Father and the Son